Recession fears continue to skyrocket as people all across the United States are very concerned. In fact, record levels of concern that go back to 2008 about where unemployment's going to be, where the recession will be, all of this on the eve of the good old FOMC meeting coming out tomorrow. What does this mean for crypto? What does the data actually say? Are we headed for a recession in 2025, or are we about to see a major bottom? Stick around for all of those details. Also, by the way, towards the end of the video, we are going to have a special guest. We're also going to be discussing the major mistake that Solana has made. We have all that and a whole lot more. Make sure if you enjoyed today's video to go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe, as we are almost to 50,000 subscribers. But first, before any of our content, we got to roll an intro. Welcome, everybody, to the Investing Bros live show. It's 3 p.m. Once again, T-Shroom on the last day of his vacation. He will be back tomorrow, but for today, it is me and Smay running the ship. Very good to have you here, my friend Smay. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing great. Well, we had to wear matching outfits, but guys, I have something that I haven't consulted in a while, but I need to consult it real quick because it's very important. I'm gonna consult the little chalice for how crypto is gonna be doing in the rest of this year. All right. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. All right, guys. The chalice has spoken. Crypto is going to still exist by the end of this year. Let's go.
There we go. What an inquiry. Did the chalice say anything about price predictions, or is it kind of vague on those details?
Well, I don't think it's really that into crypto. The chalice. I think it's more of like a stocks guy.
All right. There we go. Thank you, Smay. We'll see you here a little bit later. Again, we have a special guest at the end of the show. You do not want to miss out. I'll tell you who it is in just a second. But first, let's get into, normally this is T-Shroom's job, but with him out on vacation, you're stuck with me to go through the minute-long news wrap-up of the day. Some of these things we're going to discuss a little bit later in the show, but let's go to my screen here, Smay, and go through some things. Starting off with the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. Technically last night, this came out at 8 p.m. It came up to 34, still in the fear, but slightly up from the previous day's 32. That, of course, is just Bitcoin. I'm going to be interested to see what happens tonight with Bitcoin now being back. Let's go to the hourly chart here so you can see it. With Bitcoin now being back sub 82,000, can we close higher to end the day, or will we see a drop in the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index? Over with the crypto one in general, talking about altcoins, it has slightly risen. Yesterday it was at 22. Today it's at 25. So we're still living in fear, right? Crypto has not gotten greedy. People aren't getting ridiculous, but they are warming up a little bit. Is that the fearful, the weekends leaving, or are people getting a little less bearish? Let's absolutely find out what that means later on. Let's go through some other details you absolutely want to be aware of. This is going to be a new daily thing, June, right? FOMC meeting is coming out tomorrow, but all eyes are on the June meeting. What will happen in June, and what are the predictions about where the Fed will start cutting rates again? Well, June is the month everyone's watching. Today it's coming in 32%. 32% is saying that we will still be paused in June, which leaves, again, 57% are saying we'll have one rate cut. 10% are saying we'll have two rate cuts. Either way, that means 68% of institutional, predictors here are still saying we're more than likely going to see a June rate cut. But of course, what Jerome Powell says tomorrow at the FOMC meeting could have a massive role in deciding, is that number going to get accelerated? Is we're going to have more than one rate cut by June? Stick around for more on that. Let's go through some headlines here coming out in the last 24 hours. Bitcoin Magazine reporting that Bitcoin and crypto companies are seeking to become national banks under this administration, according to Reuters. This would be very, very cool. Of course, some people are going to be pissed off about this because crypto was supposed to bank the unbanked and get away from the banking systems, and now crypto people are trying to become banks themselves. Either way you cut it, though, if this ends up coming to fruition, very bullish for your cryptocurrencies you hold. And we're starting with the bullish news. We'll transition into the scary news. Stay with us here. Coinbase. Now, take this with a grain of salt. Of course, Coinbase would have incentives to say that they want more people buying. But Coinbase had a study, and it found that over 75% of institutional investors will increase their crypto exposure. We kind of talked about this for a little bit, that even though we're on the doorsteps of people worried about a recession, there's a lot of cash from institutions that are waiting to come into crypto. Coinbase shows that number could be pretty big. We'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. Some other good things happening today. Putin and Trump phone call lasted about 90 minutes, focusing on normalization and peace. I think a recent poll on Polymarket shows now 40% probability that we will see a ceasefire in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia. Of course, that's on the doorstep of, I don't have an article here, the ceasefire in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine has been obliterated. Attacks happening late last night. But again, a peace talk between Ukraine and Russia could be very bullish for the markets, avoiding a World War III scenario. Let's keep going on. Not bullish news here, but a headline I wanted to mention. Just-in Tesla vehicles set on fire in targeted attack at Las Vegas Service Center. Now, I do believe, an update to this story, they did catch the guy who did it. Either way you do it, I don't care where people are, whether you are an Elon fan or not an Elon fan. This is domestic terrorism. There's no place for it whatsoever. We need to return to a world where we fight out our disagreements with our words rather than actually destroying products and people's lives in the process. Crazy stuff continues to go after Tesla. That being said, it looks like justice is going to come to fruition there as well. Here we go. As we start to transition, we got some good things here as we transition into recession talks. But let's talk about this. Just in, U.S. gas prices dropped the fourth consecutive week, reaching a 4-year low. Well, everyone loves hearing that. Gas prices are back down. That's a cool thing. What does that mean for the economy? Gold. I mean, we should have been mentioning this days before. Gold has just been continuing to skyrocket up. Just hit a new all-time high today. This says 3,025. I believe when I was looking at it earlier, like a couple of minutes before we went live, it was at 3,033. Right? So gold continues to skyrocket. Is that a good thing? Is that a sign that the economy is strong, or is that a sign that potentially recession is coming? Stick around for that. Here's where we're going to get into the details, though, of what is going on. U.S. recession right now, 41% chance, according to Polymarket, right? So there's going to be a lot of data thrown out back and forth. If you guys are on X, you'll see a lot of articles saying that a recession is coming. You'll see a lot of articles saying there's no recession. I asked you guys here in our chat, 318 of you have voted. Let's see, get more votes in here. Almost 600 people watching at the moment. We need more votes. 56% of you are saying no, we will not see a recession. 44% saying yes, we will. So kind of close to what Polymarket is saying here. But now it's about getting into the details and breaking down, will we actually see a recession? If we do see one, the pain, as we said in the title for crypto, is not over. However, are we seeing some misdirection kind of in play? Will we see a recession? We're going to break that down, kind of give my thoughts and Smay's thoughts. I want to get Smay's thoughts on this as well. Will a recession come, and what does that mean? All right, let's get into some details here. Let's get into some details from the Kobesi letter. We're going to start getting into some of the graphs and the data of what's coming out. The collapse of U.S. consumers. Unemployment expectations in the U.S. are now above the 2020 levels at their highest since 2008. In 2024, a poll showed that a whopping 56% of Americans thought that the U.S. was in a recession. Is the U.S. now set to enter one? So you see on this graph, I'm going to leave it. Nope. Yep. If I go high, you're going to be locked behind me. That's fine. We'll leave it right here. You're going to see this level. This is, again, not actual unemployment numbers. Again, unemployment numbers are not necessarily out of control yet, but this is measuring the sentiment of the average American consumer. And as you can see, we are massively above the scares from both 2024 and 2019. We haven't been this high since all the way back in 2009. Now, does this automatically mean that we are entering into recession? Not necessarily. We're going to break this down a little bit later, but you do see massive concern from American consumers that we are headed for a recession. However, when you look at some other details, Zero Hedge, for example, posting a chart that says the recession is canceled. U.S. industrial production jumps to record high. You can see on this graph right here, this is massive, hitting 104 here again today. That is not a sign of a recession. It is a sign that we're bringing jobs back, that things are coming. However, again, you still got to wrestle with this consumer fear as a whole. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Stick around with the show. And last but not least, we will be playing this little ditty for you guys. In case you have not seen it, this is that Solana advertisement that aired a little bit ago and has since been removed. Why is this causing such a stink for Solana? Will Solana be able to recover? What does this mean for the future? Stick around for all those things. That is our news headlines today. Before we jump into the charts, I did want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Decrypted.tax. They are our tax providers here at the Investing Bros. Ernest is one of the greatest people I've ever met in the world of crypto and also is an amazing tax attorney. He's a CPA and a tax attorney, and I cannot even begin to stress to you how important it is to have someone like Ernest in your corner. He has saved me thousands of dollars, friends of mine's even more than me, and he has some pretty crazy stories of just how he has helped people save every dollar they can. You guys know here at the Investing Bros, we do not recommend people break the law until taxes are done away with. Maybe that happens soon, but until taxes are done away with, pay your taxes. However, find the legal ways to pay as little as possible. People like Ernest at Decrypted.tax are the way to do that. He'll be joining the show later today. I'm going to ask him some thoughts about taxes in general, where he sees crypto taxes going, and maybe some tidbits on tactics that you who have not done your taxes yet for this year can still utilize to save every penny possible. Go check out Decrypted.tax. Get 25% off today. Let's go ahead into the charts here. Look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin back flirting with 82,000, but you guys will see after this morning, we dropped from sub $85,000 levels. So again, 84.7 is about where we were this morning. We had fallen all the way down, pushing close to $81,000, getting almost below $81,000. Are we finding some sort of a local bottom here? You will see some bullish divergence on the 1 hour chart as we kind of go through some things. I think we're actually about to see a buy signal here on the 1 hour chart, not officially getting that volume or that money flow going positive, but you do see the green reversals, bullish momentum, bullish divergence. We're waiting on that money flow to go positive. What's the 30-minute chart doing here? 30-minute, pretty close to confirming. We absolutely have the 15-minute chart and higher. So what does this mean? Well, in the short term, I'm going to go long term here in a second, everybody, but we'll start off because a lot of you guys are asking, where's Bitcoin going next? Do not be surprised to see Bitcoin at least make its way back over 82, here to 82,300. Funny thing about this level, we were looking at this in our VIP trading group earlier today. There is a massive bearish whale that has their stop loss put here at 82.3. Depending on what time frame we look at, I bet you we're going to see some of that happen. But a massive order there at 82.3. If we only get back up to it, we could see some strong rejection. If we get above it, we could start to make some bigger moves. Like I said, we're about to see potentially a buy signal on the 1 hour chart. That's going to tell us a move back up towards 83 is on the table. However, I want people to know. People are asking in our chat earlier, they're saying, what should I do right now? Should we long? Should we short? It's all about time horizon. I mean, there were signs here earlier today. If you were to go to things like the 15-minute chart, this bearishness didn't come out of nowhere. If you go back here on the 15-minute chart, let me maximize this, and you use my trading signal, 15-minute chart said red reversal, bearish momentum, negative money flow. That's a sell signal right there, March 17th. That would be yesterday around 3:45, right? So we were live there. We weren't looking at the 15-minute chart while we were live, but that is a very clear sell signal. When you look at what has happened, that almost perfectly marked the top of this movement. You could have easily traded this down to at least 83.2, if not lower than that. So these small time frames, no one should be surprised about this pullback. This was definitely something that we were aware of. It's the longer time frames that I want people to be aware. We're still looking at least short-term bullishly for these movements. The question is, will the recession bring longer downward moves? I'll save that conversation for a couple of minutes from now. But still, right now, we are still operating under a 4-hour buy signal. We have not hit the 4-hour smart trail. That category coming in here closer towards $88,000. You make your way up to the daily chart. Again, we still have a buy signal here. Low end $88,000, high end $91,000. And of course, the largest of them all, the 2 daily smart trail or the 2 daily buy signal still in effect. Again, green reversal, bullish momentum, positive money flow. That's still saying $91,000 to $92,000 are on the table for a move to the upside. I do think I'm kind of watching as we continue to delay and move sideways. I'm going to lower my 92K thoughts with my trade. I have my take profits probably sitting here just below 91,000 where this red line is. However, all of these longer term intermediate time frames are still saying that we have some short-term bullishness to the upside. So don't get discouraged by some things you're seeing maybe on the 15-minute charts and lower. We're starting to rebuild some bottom attempts here. It looks like we're ready to make a move back up above 83. And if we can conquer that $83,000 level, pretty much 84,000, we're going to be looking at 88 to 90K coming very, very soon. However, we still have to deal with the concepts. Let's turn this off for a second. We still have to deal with some longer-term bearishness. And I'm going to talk recession here in a little bit. I still think that we're going to make a move up here. But what we are wrestling with right now, in case you guys did not know, I'm going to pull up the moving averages right now. You guys know I love Luxalgo, but sometimes traditional TA is still one of the most solid things you can do to understand support and resistance. We've been talking about the 200 SMA now for a couple of days. Caleb Franzen was on last week, talked about the heavy importance of the 200-day moving average. Something else has come into effect since Caleb was on the show, though. The 20-day moving average is what we're watching right now as resistance. That level coming in right at $85,000. That is going to be very key. If we want to make that move to 90, we do need to break above that level. The good news is in a very similar spot to where we were last year. Let's go back and take a look last year when we saw the 200 and the 20 get very close to each other. We're going to have to go back to July of 2024. You can see before getting in contact with that 20-day SMA, we made a push towards the 200. We rejected right there. That's that purple line. We rejected for a couple of days, dipped back down, and then we were able to make a push through going much higher. We would go to a lower high. We wouldn't set a new high all yet, and a prolonged bearish move. But I just want to show you guys the similarity. I still think this is going to be a rejection at the moment, but don't be surprised if we see a repeat of last summer with Bitcoin rejecting on the 200, but now as the 20-day SMA comes in a little bit closer, I'm looking at potential breakthrough to the upside, hit that lower resistance level around 91,000, and then we're going back down. Main reason, 2-weekly chart. I'm doing some kind of quick technical analysis for everybody, but we're still under that sell signal on the 2-weekly chart. We still have that price target coming in down here at $74,000. And of course, this is going to make sure we kind of come to the conversation. What is going to happen with recessions? Now, take a break from my screen here for just a second, Smay. I want to get your take, and then we'll get into the conversation. How are you feeling right now on the economy as a whole? Where are you sitting in this poll? If you're voting on this poll right now, will recession hit in 2025? What would you vote? Yes or no?
Well, Tim, there's an old Chinese proverb, okay, that goes something along the lines of, if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, and if it kind of smells like a duck, if it's, eats algae like a duck, it's probably a duck,
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, I think as we've learned trading crypto all this time, is by the time people start talking as if it is a recession, we've already been in a recession, okay, Tim? So I would say, I think if we're not headed there, I think we're already there. I think we're feeling it. And so that's my opinion. Anyways, Tim, what's your opinion?
Well, I mean, there comes the question of what is the definition of a recession? We went through this whole conversation a couple of years ago when we technically had the 2 quarters of negative GDP, but there were people out there saying we weren't in a recession just yet, right? I think from that definition, we've been in a recession, right? There's going to be people out there that say, hey, we've been in a recession. Forget going into one. We've been in one, despite the fact that the stock market went up, despite the fact that crypto continued to climb to all-time highs. This recession has been in play for quite some time. There are some warning signs, and we're going to go back through the news here, and I'll show you guys what we're looking at. Let's go back to my screen here. Go ahead. Back here, this post put out by the Cabesi letter here this morning. Again, this is something to be aware of. People are freaking out right now. There's a widespread fear across the United States that people are going to lose their jobs. We've already seen thousands of people lose their jobs in the early days of the Trump administration. There's this concept out there that Trump wants to see a little bit of pain in the markets to kind of put some pressure on Jerome Powell to cut rates sooner than later. But again, that pain is not going to be fun while it lasts. Here at the Investing Bros channel, we have several friends that have reached out to us kind of telling us there's concerns about what their future employment looks like, right? So we do not want to ignore these details. Another detail I want to make sure people are aware of, I kind of brought it up earlier, but let's go take a look at gold for a second. As gold just continues to rip to new highs. Again, right now, okay, I think I told you earlier, it was at 30,033. Gold is at an all-time high right now. Let's go to like a 1 hour chart. Let's just make sure. Yeah, gold actively is working on its all-time high up here at $3,037, okay? What this looks like, though, is if you go back to past recessions, you'll see that gold either front runs or rallies during those recessions, right? Of course, we had the little flash crash back in 2020. We got to really zoom out here. We had that little flash crash on the scare from COVID. You can see here during 2022, right? There's a little bit of a surge as 2022 kind of hit with a minor recession. Rates went a lot higher. You see a surge in gold's price. But let's go back to the ones that we really remember, the ones that really hurt the economy overall. Go back to December 2007, right? The recession that some people call the 08 recession, the 09 recession, it technically started December of 2007. Now, first, what do you notice here about gold? Gold is rallying before December. We get into December, it makes another push. We do have an initial, again, after December here in March of 08, we do have a little pullback in gold right here. But before the recession is officially over, we got a 34% pullback, and then gold takes back off to the upside. But what's the point overall? Gold front run and early days of the recession actually were making brand new highs. You go back to the recession of 01, all right? You go way back in here. You can see that while we had a small little pullback, the recession started in March of 2001 or March, April 2001. What do you notice about gold's price? Gold's price starts to make a move to the upside. So there's going to be people out there saying, take a look at gold. Is gold's chart telling us what is going on with it continuing to hit new all-time highs almost daily? Is that in and of itself a sign that a recession is on the way? I'm going to pause there for a second on the recession talk and kind of say this is a testament, though, what's happening with gold right now and the recession fears that are in play. If you are in Bitcoin, you should be loving this, and I'm going to explain why. Bitcoin is digital gold. You hear that over and over and over, but you're probably sitting here saying, well, if it's digital gold, why is it going down while gold's going up? It seems like a farce. No. Bitcoin is going to be digital gold. The problem is Bitcoin is still trading at the moment like a risk on assets. So when the markets are, scared, risk on assets go to the downside. Bitcoin's going to the downside. When the markets are bullish, they go to the upside. When they're risk on, they go to the upside. That means that Bitcoin is not being treated the way it will be in the near future, meaning we are absolutely still early. If you think that buying Bitcoin at or around $100,000 was a foolish decision for the long term, no, $100,000 for Bitcoin is still relatively cheap. You are still an early adopter because Bitcoin is not being heavily utilized the way it will be in the future when it will be a fight against inflation. It will be a fight against recessionary problems with the US dollar. So want to give you a little pick-me-up right there, but understand that, yes, it's very real right now that we are watching certain things, certain data suggest that we should be concerned about a possible recession. But let me flip the script here for a little bit. Let me give you a couple of reasons that are not necessarily just, I don't think we're heading for a recession, because we could have a whole conversation about different things happening in crypto, different things happening in the economy that would point towards a recession not coming. The truth is we don't know for certain, but we're going to use the same graphics that we were showing with concern to also look at the consideration that one might not actually be in. The first one, and I kind of flipped it there for a second, industrial production still shooting high. Like, that is not a sign of a recession coming. That's actually a sign that more and more is being produced, not a recessionary talk. It's just one data point, but it's something you should be aware of. Even the one that is bearish, though, treat this thing almost like a fear and greed index. The higher you are up on this chart, the consumer worry chart, like a fear and greed index, the more fear you're in, the more likely you are towards hitting some form of a market bottom. The lower you are, the more likely you are at some sort of a top. I mean, notice some of these levels where we topped out, like back in 2021. Anyone know what happened back in 2021, both in the crypto markets and the TradFi markets? Yeah, that's a local top before we entered a year-long bear market. You look at some other times like 11 and 12. These, of course, are the recoveries from the recession of 08, 09. But look at the peaks and look at the dates that we're kind of watching here. We're watching right at the end of 08, early 09. the highest peak of fear. You look over here and you're seeing right at the end of 01, right before we're getting into 2002, the peak in fear back in 1990, back here in 80. Let's see, this is going to be in 1980. Overall, what I want to be very clear here is while these are great signs of recession, you'll see the peaks, these massive shoot ups, actually were marking the bottom of major pullbacks, the bottom of recessionary spending, and gave us signs that up is coming from here. Well, again, I can't say this is over. And I told you guys, I still think 74,000 for Bitcoin. I think the stock market might even still have a little bit lower to go. Hasn't quite hit these long-term support levels. But if you're looking at this chart that's showing you consumer fear right now, there's actually a little bit of a way to look at this and say, you know what? This actually should be extremely positive news. Because in the same way with crypto, I'll say this over and over again, the same way in crypto, we say buy in the fear and sell in the greed. It should be a very similar kind of thought here. When consumers get afraid, consumers are not good at predicting the future. They're great at reacting, okay? Consumers and how they feel about the economy, they respond to either bullish or bearish things. This massive freak out that we see climbing, never do I see, even on this chart, consumers being good at predicting bad movements. We actually see them showing the fear right as the worst of it is all behind us. You can go off my screen here now, Smay. Overall, you guys are coming in here to ask what's my opinion. I'm no economic expert. I cannot tell you every data point out there. There's going to be so many arguments for a recession or against a recession. It's ultimately up to you and what you think and how you want to invest your hard-earned money. Do you want to invest in crypto? Do you want to hold it in cash? Do you want to go into something less volatile? Even though it might go further down, the stock market is less volatile than crypto. You'll save some money that way, right? I personally believe that we're not going to be seeing a recession in 2025. I said this time and time again. I'm a contrarian trader. I love going against the trend and the thoughts that people have. And right now, when I look at these charts like the consumer index, when I look at things like Polymarket heavily predicting some of the highest levels of predicting people expecting a recession, I like to go the opposite direction. I think there's a lot of things being baked in to scare consumers, retail investors out of investing so that whales and institutions can buy up the dip anytime they can. And by the time that we lose this fear, us retail investors, by the time we no longer feel a recession is coming, crypto and stock markets will be back at all-time highs. When that will start, I'm not certain. I'm not certain the bottom is in for these things, but I do think the bottom is close. I do think that seeing this amount of fear, I see as a very good sign. There was one other thing we were talking about earlier here. I want to find it once again. But yes, this article right here is if Coinbase is right and institutions are sitting on a lot of money, this is going to be the perfect situation to get retail investors to leave, and all of the cash that institutions are sitting on, they pour into this blood in the streets. They get to make the money. You, the retail investor, get left behind. That's what I'm watching right now. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about my analysis? What do you think the most critical and crucial details are to watch to predict when a recession will be here, or if there's going to be an avoidance once again? Let's take a second here and engage with chat for a second. We are going to bring up the Solana clip in just a couple of minutes, break down what's happening with Solana, where they went so wrong, and the massive mistake that they made. But let's go ahead and go down. Steady Bug, one of our favorite people in chat, said, Tim, there isn't any retail left to shake out. I think you're very close to being right there, Steady Bug. That's one of my reasons why I think the bottom is very close. If we had a pump on Bitcoin back up to 90K, there will be some suckers that jump back in. There'll be some people who have been, they're just on the tip right now. They are ready to teeter into bearishness, but they're holding on for dear life. There will be people, if the Bitcoin price goes back to 90K, they'll have so much hopium, they'll buy in right there, and then as price comes back down towards 74K, they're like, that's it, I'm done. I'm not believing a bullish story ever again in my life. They sell their paper hands. There's a little bit more to shake out. But Steady Bug, I'm with you. I don't think there's a lot of retail to shake out left, and because there's not a lot left, that is why I think the bottom is very, very close. Pearl says no one is buying now. That's actually a sign in the right direction that the bull market could be about to restart. But again, that's kind of the same thing as I said before. Stuart Russell says recession impossible to predict, and nobody can talk about this until the USA sees the effects of the tariffs. Very true, Stuart. And here's the thing. What are the tariffs? I mean, the minute we think we know what's happening with the tariffs, another detail, another wrinkle comes in that you cannot tell me what tariffs look like except for what they look like at this second. We don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. We definitely don't know what April is going to look like, even though that's going to be the fear right there. People are going to look at that April 2nd reciprocal tariffs coming into effect. There's still time now between now and April to change those things up and for the markets to bake in how they think those things will happen. Also, again, as we talk about this recession, will these recession scares, will the Fed be looking at some of this consumer fear and cause them to cut rates sooner? Okay, that's something we haven't talked a lot about on the show so far, but remember, tomorrow's the FOMC meeting. And while there's a very little possibility of him actually cutting rates tomorrow, do we hear from Jerome Powell? Do we see him redirect his focus from inflation details that are going down to unemployment details that are going up? And as I just showed you on that chart, there's heavy, heavy fear that unemployment is going to continue to rise. That's going to have a massive impact on what happens with a future recession as well. But yeah, let's keep going on here. T-Shroom in chat. Love seeing you, T-Shroom. Cannot wait to get you back tomorrow. Drive safe. Smay put it in here. Johnny Feld, I think his name. On to everything and Johnny P. All right, there's no space there. Johnny P said, held on to everything and haven't sold a single token, even my small caps that are down 70 to 80%. I have a plan and a vision, and I'm very patient and have a vision, and I'll wait for years if need be. Johnny, I'm in the same exact boat. I mean, whether we enter a recession or not, again, does that affect the way I trade the markets? Absolutely. Right? If I see a prolonged bearish move coming and I see the signs recession's coming, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be shorting and making some money in my trading portfolio. My long-term HODL portfolio that I'm already holding on to, I'm going to hold for a long while. I'm going to continue to do just that. I'm going to ride the waves. I'll ride that sucker all the way back down to $30,000. I don't think Bitcoin's going to $30,000, but if it does, I've already decided I'm going to hold on because like I said earlier, even if you bought it $100,000, even if you're feeling pain in Bitcoin right now, even if your altcoins are down 70, 80%, which you'd have to have bought a pretty degen project to be down that far. The signs of watching what gold is doing right now and how Bitcoin is performing, once again, as I said, is the sign that Bitcoin investors, even though it's been around now for 16 years, you are still early to the party. We are nowhere close to establish where Bitcoin's volatility will massively decrease. Guess what that means? We're down pretty heavily right now. Could go down a little lower, but we're going to have a vicious bounce back to the upside once the catalyst for the bottom is in, once the retail weak hands are gone and it's nothing but whales and long-term holders and all that, trillions of dollars of cash from institutions pour back in, we will see a massive shoot back to the upside. But that is part of the game. If you want to win and ride those massive waves up, sometimes you also got to ride those waves to the downside as well. All right, here. What else we have? Jerome said at the most 2 more weeks, and at least if Powell surprises us tomorrow, recession talk will end. If he surprises us tomorrow. Yeah, so if he comes out and says pretty much we're considering rate cuts in May, which, by the way, let's be very clear here with how he's going to do this. We're going to be live tomorrow at 1:50 to cover the details. We'll preview the show. We'll watch Jerome Powell live. He's not going to say, ladies and gentlemen, he's not going to come out and say we're cutting rates in May. That's not how he talks. He probably won't even say we're considering cutting rates in May. That's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for from him is, does he say we still have a strong path to 2% inflation ahead of us? That's our main goal, and we're not worried about the economy. The economy's strong. Unemployment is good. If he says those things, that's not good. That's not bullish, right? That means he's going to keep rates higher for longer, no change. But all we need him to say at this point is say, you know what? Even though the economy is sitting in a decent place, we're aware that unemployment levels are something we need to be a little bit more aware of and tracking. Inflation seems to be in a good spot. If he says anything like that my focus is shifting from inflation all the way over into unemployment numbers, that is going to be a bullish catalyst. That's going to cause the CME futures and the poly market predictors to skyrocket an increased level of cuts both in June and throughout the rest of 2025. That would bring some positivity back into the markets. You don't have to wait for a rate cut. You have to wait for the turning of attitude from the Fed, and that we could see play out tomorrow. All right. So a lot of chatting here. You guys are chatting a whole lot. Let's take a break from Q&A. Let's transition our topics here into some altcoin discussion. Let me go back over here. Let's quickly look at the charts first, and then we're going to watch a short video. Solana it's actually not as down as it could be under the circumstances of what we've seen happen in the last 24 hours. We're going to preview the ad that they aired yesterday and then quickly took down and give you our take. Solana did come back down here towards $121. While it does have a small rally today, you can see on the shorter time frames, it is still absolutely in a down trending market, even on the short term right here. Will we see Solana bounce back and just follow the rest of the markets if we do get some bullish moves tomorrow? Or do you start to wonder on that longer time frame, could we potentially continue to make moves to the downside? Something I'd be watching here with a couple different levels. You do have a trending support level that could be touched down here at 101, but I've seen increased predictions that Solana could hit $80. Now, $80 is a level that I am aware of here on the weekly chart. It's a take profit suggestion from signals and overlays. But unless there was a major catalyst, I've told you guys, I don't think there's a good reason to think Solana goes to $80. Well, what we're about to watch on this video could cause people to want to sell their Solana just because of this one isolated event. For that, we're going to go over to Smay's screen, and we got a video to play for you, and we'll break down what our thoughts are of it. Smay, go ahead and hit play.
So, America, what's going on?
Well, lately, I've been having thoughts again.
What thoughts?
About innovation. You know, multiplanetary travel, nuclear energy, crypto, AI. You know, things that push the limits of human potential.
What you're experiencing is called rational thinking syndrome. Why don't we take this energy and channel it into something more productive, like coming up with a new gender?
But that's not gonna stop me thinking about innovating and doing something.
Innovating, doing, these are action words, verbs. Why don't we focus on pronouns?
That's not gonna help.
I sense some cynicism. Have you been betrayed in the past?
You know, I used to think the media was my friend. Can I even trust them anymore?
Of course.
Of course they'd say that. That's a biased take. I got canceled for saying 2 + 2 is 4.
Have you ever considered that math is a spectrum?
What?
America, numbers are non-binary. We've been conditioned to believe that 2 + 2 is 4. It's a societal construct.
It's literally math.
Or is it a dominant narrative? Have you been practicing the state-prescribed regulations we talked about?
Yeah. I've debanked some crypto founders and I've slowed down nuclear reactor approvals, and depending on my state of mind, I change the SEC guidelines, but I don't like it.
If we don't regulate, how will we create jobs for people who work hard to make businesses slow?
You know what? Hard work, innovation, rational thinking, it's in my blood. It's who I am. Railroads, factories, automobiles. I built the future once, and I won't be left behind now. I will lead the world in permissionless tech, build on-chain, and reclaim my place as the beacon of innovation. I want to invent technologies, not genders.
Lovely. So glad you were able to get some of that negative emotion out. Sounds like we'll need a few more sessions. When can I see you next?
You're fired.
Go ahead and go back to the screen. If you guys are just joining us for some reason while that was happening, that was the recent ad run by Solana in their America is Back campaign. But here's the details. They ran that advertisement, and after some criticism, I guess the best way to put that there, they immediately took it down. Now, I'm aware that in our audience, there will be people probably on both sides of the aisle when it comes to this ad. I'm going to tell you my take, right? I'm not going to be a chicken and not give you my thoughts, but my overall point here is what a terrible mistake from Solana, whatever way you want to chalk it up, right? If you guys are friends of ours and you're here and you're on the left side of the aisle and you are pro LGBTQ and you're sensitive to that, you guys are looking at this and you're saying this is terrible. Like, this was absolutely terrible. Whoever made this commercial should be fired, right? Let's say you're on the conservative side of the aisle and you thought that video was amazing and should not be taken down, but all of a sudden they deleted it and were cowards, not sticking to their thoughts because it's very clear how they feel on this. You're looking at this and saying whoever took it down made a major mistake. They didn't win with anybody here, right? They literally, in the last 24 hours, Solana's PR team has found a way to piss off everybody, no matter how you look at it, right? If you're a leftist, they piss you off just by making it. If you're a rightist, if you're a, I guess the best way to put this, if you're more on the woke side, this offended you. If you're a based person, right? Those are two expressions the cool kids are using. This pissed you off that they were cowards in taking it down. Right? That is what we have to kind of work here. So before I even give you my opinion, Smay gives you his opinion. That is something that is absolutely crushing Solana. When I said earlier, and I'm not necessarily predicting for certain that Solana could go to $80, this is the type of thing that could do it. This is the type of thing that kind of reminds me, we're getting kind of a little political here. You guys remember when Bud Light, of course, the beer of every Southern Republican, it seems like, who drank alcohol, when they had their whole ad read with whatever her name was, I forgot, but it pissed off the right. And then they took it down. It's like the same move. If you're going to make a ballsy move and go in a certain direction, don't chicken out and leave later. Double down on your move. And that's exactly what Solana did not do. With that said, before I give any more of my thoughts, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Smay, what did you think of this advertisement? I think that was the first time you'd seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it, I don't know. Like, I think it's really, really on the nose. So, like, okay, yeah. I'll critique it from just like I agree with a lot of the politics involved. But, like, as far as ads go, you know what I mean? I think it, like, made too much of this, like, straw man, and it felt very, like, self-indulgent. I don't love that kind of talk, okay? But I will say, like, I don't actually see how that was so terrible that it needed to be removed. Like, I think they got, like, exactly what you're saying, Tim. I think they got way. Now, I saw a T-Shroom say in the chat, he said maybe they took it down to get more people to see it. But then I think that doesn't work great, because then on the
I think
back,
it worked that way, but I don't think that's why they did it.
I think it worked that way, but then that, if anything, that just, like, takes away from the power of the argument, though. You know what I mean? Like, more people might have seen it, but the power of the argument gets taken down. So it's like, I think at the end of the day, it was a little bit, like, cringe. I think the ad was cringe generally, but, like, it was even more cringe. It was even more cringe to give up on the ad right after you had just the smallest amount of resistance. And it's like... It's just really so funny. It's a weird take, and it's just I don't know, it's weird.
No, I think you are the same. You are on the same page there. Yeah, like, I'm breaking down. The acting was terrible, right? So even if you don't want to address the PR side of it all, how do they shoot that? Release it and say that one's good to go, right? The acting is terrible. That part is cringe. And again, I think there potentially is wisdom there in saying, why would you have aired something that would, anger certain people within your community? While I do think it's a minority, we're not under any delusion. There are people, and I say this all the time, crypto is not a bipartisan issue, or is not a partisan issue. Excuse me. It is a bipartisan. There are people both on the left and the right who love cryptocurrency. Okay. I think the whole world would probably lean. The more conservative you are, the higher likelihood you're a crypto person. But by no means is there like only based Republican conservative people across the world like cryptocurrency. So you're playing with fire, making a specific statement on a very polarizing issue. Okay. The problem is, and this is where I'm again, in my opinion, which line was wrong? Even if you're on the left, which side was wrong? Not which line was offensive. There's lots of offensive lines in there. I'm not going to negate that. There's a lot of offensive. Which part was wrong? We need to get back to a place in the world where it's not about are my feelings hurt or not, is what you said unequivocally factual. Facts should be way more important than feelings. If you can keep people's feelings in minds while talking facts, good. I'm not an advocate of going out and bullying people and just putting them down with whatever way you can think of. But when I get into a debate between facts and feelings, facts should 100% of the time trump feelings, okay? So I liked the commercial in the sense of the thought process of we need to get away from this. We just worry about people's feelings, get out of this mindset where we just think everything's subjective. There is such a thing as truth. There is such a thing as morality. There is such a thing as objective behavior. I like that part. I like the boldness. Where it falls apart for me, and you said it there, you can use the word cringe. I don't think the right word here is cringe. It's weak. It's cowardly. Double down on your position. I mean, whoever wrote this and executives that approved it agree with the sentiment. Okay? They agree with the words put in this commercial. So don't be a coward and take it down because you get a couple of people saying I'm offended. That's just absolutely terrible. So am I concerned about Solana long-term? This is where I'll back off. Listen, guys, Solana, it's still, some people are going to say it's not good fundamentally. Some people say it goes out all the time. A lot of the recent outages on Solana really haven't been Solana's fault. People will move on. People will move forward. If you're asking based off this commercial and all the surrounding circumstances, should you sell your Solana? I don't think so. I mean, I think temporarily it's going to have a little bit of a road bump in front of it. I think it's going to have a temporary bearish cloud over it. But long-term, people will move on. They will forget. You got to make some wise decisions. But we've seen Solana make wise PR decisions in the past. If you guys don't remember, back at the end of 2022, they were the dead project tied at the hips to FTX. And now, again, in 2023, 2024, they were the darling of crypto. I'm not ready to call Solana out and count them out and say that Solana is over, it's dead, it's gone. But big mistake from the PR team. Stick to your guns, stick to your logic, or don't play with fire at all in the first place. Don't get political if you don't want to play the game, or if you don't want to suffer the consequences, don't play the game. I said that expression wrong. But I think a lot of you get my point. With that said, let us know in the chat, what are your guys' thoughts on that commercial in general? How you feel about Solana? Are you guys selling your Solana based off of the surrounding circumstances? Are you going to continue to hodl on? Let me know what you guys think. Smay, is our guest in chat yet? Or we have a couple more minutes to answer some questions?
Our guest is here.
Oh.
You'd like me to bring him on?
Go ahead and bring him on. Welcome on Ernest from Decrypted.tax. Cannot wait to ask you some questions here. If you guys have questions about crypto taxes or crypto in general, that's one of the cool things about Ernest also. When I met him, I don't know, Ernest, it's been like 2 years probably since we've spent time together. You've done now the second 2 years of my taxes. He's not just a crypto CPA tax attorney who's saying, let me take advantage of the crypto space. This man is a crypto degen himself. In your phone call, if you guys set one up with him, you probably won't just talk about your taxes. You'll probably talk about crypto and ApeCoin and a lot of other things as well. So that's one of the things I love, a CPA who actually cares about the whole industry in general. But before I get into some of my questions on crypto taxes, Ernest, how are you doing today? Where are you coming from today?
Yeah, I'm doing wonderful. Another beautiful day in Southwest Utah. We're just kind of hanging out, doing taxes. Yesterday was a busy day. And we survived. Clients survived. So we're moving forward.
We had a lot of questions to get into today, but I want to start off from your perspective. We're talking right now about, the whole point of this video, is a recession coming? Like, are people afraid of a recession? Are we going to see one in 2025? How are you viewing this from your perspective of getting to work on the tax end and how people are preparing themselves financially? What are you thinking right now about a possible recession in the year 2025?
Yeah, so I see clients making moves to protect themselves from recessionary move. Certainly, there are things you can do from a tax perspective now that we could go over on a case-by-case basis with clients, and we do that all day, every day. There are some tax loss harvesting that we can do, tax gain harvesting, depending on the client's situation. We can harvest gains at a 0% rate and realize those gains now and step up the basis in those assets. But yeah, we regularly advise clients. That's the thing about us versus other tax preparation services you might find is we're here if you have any questions throughout the year, and we provide free consultations throughout the year as many times as you want to book until my calendar fills completely up. I'm here.
Right. Yes, very, very cool. Again, as I told you guys, he is my personal tax CPA, and I get to talk with him all the time, coming with strategies and stuff to make sure I pay Uncle Sam as little money as possible. But speaking of paying Uncle Sam as little money as possible, there's rumblings out there, and we don't have an official detail about when or how or what, but I'm sure in recent conversations, you've had a lot of clients talking to you about the potential of this Trump tax plan to eliminate all taxes, and I think it's just income taxes, but eliminate income taxes for every person making $150,000 a year or less. What's your take on this? How is this kind of processing in your world with what you do, and what do you think the likelihood of that coming 2025 or 2026 into law?
Yeah, I see it as a possible for 2026. I don't see it as a possible for 25. I don't. I guess I'd call it a likely, but I'd say likely in this presidential term. I'd say it's likely that we'll see something like that, and we may see some other things. There may be some 0% capital gains on U.S. crypto. There was a big talk about that. Whether it's and determining what is U.S. crypto is another hurdle to overcome. But they've identified crypto that they think are U.S. based, and that's great. So there's some crypto out there that we may see 0% capital gains rates on. Now that doesn't mean that it'll change for ordinary income. Certainly, if you get paid crypto for services rendered like we do, that's still income, and so there's still some tracking to be done there. The fair market value, the amount received on the date you receive it, treated as income.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, so probably not going to see anything on that front until 2026. That sucks. I was hoping that would come into effect here very soon. But you know what? I'll pay the taxes. You'll help me. I tell people all the time the story. I'm not even your best story, but I tell people all the time. Last year, I always, even though I have you, I still was doing things in the background, just assessing my own taxes and looking at like how much it for the first year and a couple years I was in profit. Like, okay, how much am I going to owe on my capital gains taxes? How much am I going to owe for my income? Some of my income was W-2 and some of it was 1099. And I remember doing the math in my head, which probably was my first mistake. And I remember thinking, I was like, yeah, I'll probably end up owing, I think my brain said like $3,000, right? It might've been a little less than that, but it was around $3,000. And working with you and your team, I remember just like, yeah, just let me know how much I owe. And I can't remember the guy's name I was working with, but he's like, yeah, give me some numbers. I'm going to crunch the numbers. And he comes back, he's like, oh, it's going to be about 900. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. He saved me like $2,000. He's like, no, a return of $900. And I know my friend Greg, it was like, he thought he owed like 20,000. He got a return of like 7,000 or something. How common is that people are coming to you thinking they're going to just owe a bunch of money, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, they're not only just owing a lot less, they actually might end up getting some sort of return that probably would not have been possible without you?
Yeah, so there's a multifaceted answer to that. There are two aspects to that. One, people like to think they made more money trading crypto than they did. We get a lot of that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to remember that big loss day where they took their pants. But the other thing is just the tax rules are complicated. There's a 0% capital gains rate up to a certain amount every year. And we get a lot of clients who didn't realize that. And so they thought they were going to have to pay taxes where they end up not having to pay capital gains tax on certain amounts of income.
Yeah. Very, very cool. I can't wait for that to happen again this year, because I think I'm going to owe some more money this year. I can't wait to get that return. Last question I have for you on the crypto news front. Then you're going to stick around with our factoid of the day. I'm going to check in back on Bitcoin here in a second, because Bitcoin up over 82,000 again. Let's change to the other kind of thing that's been bounced back and forth in the world of taxes and crypto here recently. And we asked you about this, I want to say last fall, but of course there's been new developments. Now Trump is officially the president of the United States. He's mentioned some things, but he's not very clear here. Where are you now in predicting the likelihood of removing capital gains taxes on American-based crypto? You said earlier that some of the issues are going to be what's an American-based crypto, what's not. But how are you feeling now about that future coming to fruition in the United States with taxes? Are we getting closer towards yes? Or are you still feeling that could be a ways away?
It's closer towards yes. It's definitely closer towards yes. And I don't think that I wouldn't be surprised to see that in 2025. And so
wow,
that is getting close. They've identified the crypto that they feel are US based.
Yeah.
And is what it is. That's a nice list. We'll figure it out. They'll just have to identify them. But I do think that is a possibility, and I do think that will influence behavior for sure. I mean, certainly you want to get those assets that have that 0% capital gains rate, and so yeah, I think
good
that's
stuff. Now, does that mean if you already paid your taxes, and I mean, some people pay their taxes, some people probably even have gotten closer to getting a return or something. If you delay and that comes to fruition over the summer, will that not take effect until 2026, or will that take effect even in 2025?
It'll probably take effect for tax year 2025. If it comes out next month, then it'll be for tax year 2025. If it comes out in December, it'll be for tax year 2025. If it comes out in February of 26, it'll probably be for tax year 2026.
Okay, there we go. Wrong again. Asked the question, can I claim my dogs as dependents?
No, you cannot.
You got to try, though. You got to try. You miss every shot you don't take.
Yeah. The test is whether it's an ordinary, necessary, fixed, and determinable business expense. And so ordinary, necessary, probably not. Now, if you use your dog in your interviews here, and you had that dog, and you're like, that's right, we're going to ask the dog what he thinks of Bitcoin right now. Yeah, we might be able to do that. Might be able to work that out.
The Beamer's on payroll. Beamer's gonna. Oh my goodness, good stuff here. Well, last question I have you on taxes, and we're gonna do our factoid of the day and take a look at the Bitcoin chart here in a second. What is free advice that people need to hear? I mean, a lot of people probably are about to pay their taxes. I mean, it's very common. Americans, we wait to the last second to do everything. We have a little less than a month left. Even before calling you, which everyone should call you and get their free consultation. And then if they sign up, 20% off just because they use, I think 25% off, right? 25% off just because we sent you. What is free advice that you would give every single person right now who is probably going to owe taxes on their crypto investments?
Get advice is my advice. Get someone who does this all day, every day to have a look at your gains. It's really worth your while. Whether that's us or any of the other services. But make sure that the service is providing accurate information. The way you can do that, like if you go to CoinLedger and you input all your information, there's always garbage in, garbage out with any service, whether it's our service or some other. If you don't provide all the information, then you're not going to get all the accurate data on the back end. And then if you use us, I just ask that clients provide us with everything so that we can determine what the tax effect is, because sometimes clients are hesitant to provide everything, and we come up, our software flags it anyway. I mean, if you're moving currency, you're moving crypto from one wallet to another, and this one wallet just keeps coming up all the time as opposed to a deposit and a withdrawal wallet, we'll see it. And that means the IRS will see it when they go through and mine the data, which they're doing more and more now. They have software that they're using to mine data. It's all public blockchain. I mean, so it's just, they're getting better at it. That being said, they're not perfect right now. And certainly if you get a service, make sure that they are going to protect you. And this is a shameless plug for Decrypted Tax. We provide audit relief with everything that we put on a tax return. I will never put a client in a position where they have to pay me something additional to defend something that I put on the form in the first place. I will defend it all the way to tax court at absolutely no charge.
Yeah. And that, again, I want to stress everybody, that is not something you're going to get with your everyday crypto CPA. It's very few of them out there that are also tax attorneys that will protect you like that. We've had an influx of questions come in right as we're kind of wrap up here. Because I'm going to tell you guys, well, we can't answer them here. I mean, questions like, how do I report my taxes on Blofin? How much do you charge? A lot of different things here. Here's what I'll tell you. Go give Ernest a call. Free 60-minute consultation right now. You can ask all the questions you want. And if you get to the end of it and you're like, man, Ernest isn't my guy. All right, no sweat, no foul. He's just glad to help you out. I think very few people take that phone call and not want to do something with him, but take the call, ask him every question you want. Also, we'll have another webinar with him before April 15th. You guys can always jump into those. We'll make sure we tell you when those happen. Before we do our factoid today, I wanted to show Bitcoin's chart again because it was doing something here. Had some volatility in the last couple of minutes. Remember we said earlier in the show there was going to be a big hurdle at 82,300. Well, we made a move above it. If I go to the 1-minute chart, you're going to see we literally just had a little bit of a sell-off right there. But Bitcoin is above that hurdle, or was above that hurdle. It made it all the way up here to 82,500 right as the markets are closing for the day for all the people who are buying ETFs and whatnot. Will we see a rally into tomorrow's FOMC day? Well, make sure that you join our free Discord where we will keep you up to date on what's happening over there. The conversation never stops. But at the moment, some very positive signs with heavy volume buying up Bitcoin right now. It looks like we have set a little local bottom down here, and we want to make a little surge into FOMC day. But again, check out the free Discord if you want to learn more. That being said, Smay, before we let our guests go, as is our tradition, even when guests are here, they all got to participate in our factoid of the day. Ernest has a very good track record. I think the last one you got wrong, but it was under protest because I think you knew the history of it, but the elf got it wrong. So I'm going to keep him with a perfect record. I'm going to say Ernest still has a perfect record here. Let's see if he can keep that one going.
Alrighty, here's the factoid of the day brought to you by Decrypted.tax with the Decrypted.tax guy, Ernest, here. Which country experienced a depression in the early 1990s so severe that it was called the Lost Decade? A, Argentina, B, Japan, C, Greece, or D, South Korea?
Yeah, so my educated guess on that would be Argentina.
Yeah. Yeah, I told Smay before live because he actually showed me today on accident. But I told him the reason I don't know the answer to this question is because the only world history that matters is before 1776. After 1776, the only thing that matters is American history. So I'm going to stick with his guess, Argentina. That's where I was leaning anyway. But anytime I get Ernest on here, I'm going to go with his thoughts because he's usually right. A, Argentina.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, with that, it is B,
No!
Japan.
Ernest.
Now, I will say
Perfect
most
record
of these
is ruined.
countries listed probably had some form of recessions that were really bad in the 90s, but Japan had the worst of them. It was a terrible decade called the Lost Decade. No fact check today because I didn't. I looked it up, though, so that is true. But anyways, back to you.
Yeah, people in chat were saying they were telling us in chat, here's the thing. If I look at chat, that is cheating. We don't cheat here. We don't cheat our taxes, and we don't cheat factoids of the day. I kind of cheat taxes by using Ernest in a way. So that's one tactic. But Ernest, thank you so much for being on with us today. Again, the links for him are down below. If you want to schedule that free call, if you want to use his services, there's still time left to pay your taxes and save as much money as possible. Call Ernest and Decrypted.tax today. Ernest, thanks for being here. We'll have you on again very soon.
Sure. Thanks.
For the rest of you guys, thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed the show today, T-shirt will be back tomorrow, but smash that like button and make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any of our content. A lot of big things happening in crypto, and we seek every single day to keep you up to date with everything you need to know. Okay, we're going to tell you what we think. We're going to tell you what the news says. We won't get everything right, but we will always strive to be as honest and forward with you guys as possible. If that's something you guys value, in a world where who knows what's right and what's wrong and who's lying to your face, you found the right channel here with the Investing Bros. Stick around. I think you'll enjoy it. Love you guys. See you tomorrow at 1:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be covering the FOMC meeting live. With that said, adios.